I'm live. How lucky for me. How very, very lucky for me. It was recently brought to my attention that some people really enjoy my non-sequel related babbling that goes on until enough people show up and start talking. Hello, friend Peter. So I'm going to waste a little bit of time while people show up and get questions ready by talking about something really crazy that happened to me. I talked a little bit about it. I can't remember too well. It's been a weird month, and the reason it's been a weird month is because about a month ago I woke up in the middle of the night and the world was spinning in a way that I have never experienced the world spinning before. At first, I thought it was just booze. Like I sat up and I felt better. And then I was like, all right, I'll lay back down. And I lay back down and I was okay, unless I turned my head from one side to the other. And when I turned my head to the side, the world would just go spinning like crazy. And if I turned this side, it would do the same thing. And it turns out that I had vertigo or the benign paroxysmal. I forget what the P and the V stand for, but I had that. And so I did this thing called the Epley maneuver, where you like lay with your head back and tilt from side to side and do this stuff until the dizziness stops. And that's supposed to like realign this stuff in your head that's causing the vertigo. And that worked. That worked. Like when I lay down, I could move my head from side to side and I no longer have crazy world spinning stuff. But what did happen after that is this sort of like background discomfort, what felt like motion sickness. And the reason I know what this felt like is because when Brent took us on the cruise to Alaska, there was a rough night at sea when I got really, really bad seasickness. I wasn't throwing up, but like it threw me off. And I had to take antihistamines for like a month after we got home. So it was like this very same feeling. I think like I forget what I took last time, but this time around I took a different antihistamine, and the like a funny side effect of like consistent antihistamine use that I recently learned is that it makes your eyes very dry. Like my eyes just felt depleted. Like I just felt like I had sand in my eyes constantly, and like an idiot, I thought it was just allergies, and so I was using allergy eye drops in my eyes on top of so I was probably just making matters worse. And now I'm taking this like this like dry eye specific eye drops, and my eyes finally feel like a little bit less crappy. But it was like they were dry to the point where like when I blinked, my eyelids would twitch, and I was like, so like when you put together. So no, the other thing about it, so dry that like bright lights were a little blurry. So like you put dizziness, blurry bright lights, and what was the other thing, and the whatever else I said, and you put those together, I'm like, man, I'm dead. But then I start reading, and I'm like, oh no, I might just have very dry eyes from antihistamines, everything else. So I've come full circle. Basically, this is the index fragmentation of the human body. Is I kept fighting symptom after symptom when really I just had to stop. If I stopped fighting symptoms, then things would have gotten better. I can't believe I told you all that just to get there. Something else. Well, the million of you that are in here, the billions of you that are in here, someone has to have a question about SQL Server. One of you better have a question about SQL Server, or you're all in trouble, really. Poop pains. No. Thankfully, no poop pains. Thankfully, blessedly poop pain free. Can't complain about that. You know, other stuff. You know, Other stuff gets weird. I just have what it all comes down to is I have terrible sinuses and inner ears. It's been like that my entire life, and so like anything that goes a little bit wrong with an ear or a sinus turns into like a month-long fight. Like my head feels like there's someone inflating bike tires in it, and I get all woogie and wonky, and I stare at things funny, and it's no fun. I wish that there were just surgery where I could get my sinuses removed and replaced with like stainless steel. That would be nice. George wants to know if in-memory OLTP is any good. Any good? Sure. For limited values of any. If you need to plop data into tables very quickly, it's very good. If you need to modify data in those tables pretty quickly and latch free, and it can be pretty good for that. But I would be happy if most people had enough memory to just like keep the tables they currently have in memory, rather than thinking that it would be a more appropriate reaction to try to specifically keep some tables in memory, because you're incurring a lot of potential technical debt when you could just incur some awesome RAM. And you could put things in memory, and then everyone would be happy because they would say, "Oh, look how much faster this is! I don't have to wait on that crappy SAN to get my data anymore." Or my buffer pool is not constantly being flushed because of the 25 gig memory grant that this awful query asks for. There are so many upsides to adding memory without adding it, or like without just pinning certain tables in there. Or good old DBCC pin table. Man, that was a blast. You could pin tables in memory. SQL Server wouldn't argue with you. It didn't help if it was bigger than memory. Boom. It's the one downside. One very big downside of DBCC pin table. No, I don't even know. I don't even think you can run that command anymore. Let's go find out. I'm gonna be rude for a second. Let's see here. DBCC. I know you can't see my management studio. Oh no, you can. An incorrect number of parameters. I don't even know. I don't know if it still works though. I have to go find that out somewhere. So I did group buy yesterday. The wonderful, lovely, action-packed, thrill-riddled group buy online conference. That was a lot of fun. I had the 5 o'clock slot, which freaked me out because it was all the fault of time zones that I ended up there. I thought it was at 1 p.m. So I was like, oh, I'm just gonna hang out until 1, do the 1 o'clock thing, and then pass out. And then on like the final speaker email, it was like all times PDT, and I was like, oh my, that's 5 p.m. Oops. So I did that. I did some demos from my SQL Server performance tuning tasting menu, which I like because I can be completely incoherent in the demos that I do and string them together in whatever order I want, and I can just talk until my time's up. It's a wonderful thing. So there, I ran out of time a little bit on the last one. I had like 8 minutes left, and I was like, I can do this in 8 minutes, and then I babbled too much. And there's someone outside yelling obscenities. Whatever. Peter says, how often do you do client work where you aren't allowed to use your usual tool set and are only allowed to use built-in default SSMS profile? I do most of my work in SSMS, so for me, it's just a matter of, oh God, excuse me. Another side effect of antihistamines is that they are exhausting. So what I always say is, look, you might not like what I'm about to do, but I I use the first responder kit stuff still. So I used it before I worked for Brent, and I used it and worked on it while I was there, and I still use it and work on it now. So that's like my primary tool set for doing things. I do like there are some other queries that I'll run if there's a very specific problem that one of them turns up, but generally, I just say, look, I'm going to install these scripts in the master database. It's for expediency. We have a limited amount of time together. I want to be as efficient and effective as possible, and getting data, doing analysis on it. So look, I'm going to put these in master. When we're done, you can delete them. We can wipe them out. You might see that they're useful and want to keep them. That's fine too. But this is the way we're going to work for a few hours today, and most people will just deal with it. Or like I've met very little resistance to that. Some people are like, "Well, what are these scripts?" I'll be like, "Man, if you don't know, if you don't know, you're not really in a place to like question." It's like you have the DBA title and you don't know what SP Blitz is. I have serious concerns about how much you have, like what your job experience has brought you. Like you should probably chill out. It's not even an authority thing. It's like if I brought Advil to your house and you were like, I have a headache, and I was like, take this Advil. You were like, it's Advil. Sounds untrustworthy. I don't trust your Advil. I don't believe you. Yes, Peter, there is a cleanup script. Zane says he sees people who don't know SP who is active. Yeah, I know. I run into people who don't have that either. There are times when I'll just like reflexively type that in a window and hit F5, and they're like, not found. I'm like, huh? Where am I? George says Eric is the Advil for SQL Server. Vitamin Advil. It's my favorite. It's my favorite vitamin. I don't know. Would I be Advil? I don't know. Maybe I'd be something spicier. Maybe like Percocets. Yeah. So Peter says he gets super bummed. I'm just gonna leave it at that. Peter gets super bummed when he sees old versions of SP Blitz stuff. Yeah, it's it's like, on the one hand, people are like, how could this get any better? This is so great. Why would I ever need to update it? Yeah, Super Bowl. All this stuff. Ola's on fire, man. He's been putting a ton of work into those things. I really like the stuff that he added to. Well, I mean, you can do backups in order and in parallel. You can have CheckDB run and only hit a certain number of databases, and then only do databases that haven't been hit yet. He added cool thresholds to rebuild stuff. And by thresholds, I mean like a min and max number of pages. So min pages was always there, but max pages wasn't. So you could have a table that's so big, you're like, no, I don't want to ever try to rebuild this. It would be too much work. Just leave it alone. And then also on the statistic stuff, Ola added. So before it was you choose only modified statistics. And if the modification counter was greater than 1, you would go and mess with it. But he added a percentage now, so you have a little bit more control over just how modified statistics have to be before they get updated. There's a lot of good stuff going on in there. I like all of it. I like all the stuff Ola's been doing. Especially it makes it it's more options, and so people might not be using them or using them correctly, but at least when I run into people who are using newer versions, I can be like, no, check out this thing. We can make this better and have this run in a smarter way. It's great. Something that maintenance plans haven't done in a long time. Maintenance plans are just kind of the same old stupid. I don't think I've seen maintenance plans change much since 2014, and I think the big change to they put stuff to Azure or whatever. I'm like, come on. George says, have you had a chance to play with ADR yet? ADR, for those who don't know, is accelerated database Recovery. I wish you could put like a cool echo effect on my voice for that. I'm not that high tech though. Yeah, I think I have a YouTube video about me messing, or a blog post about me messing with it. You know, I think I like it. We'll see how we'll see how things pan out. You know, it's one of those features where, like, it's really easy to show a nice demo of things, like a nice easy demo of it. But I would imagine that there's going to be all sorts of edge cases and race conditions and, ineffective parts of it that will get sussed out. This is V1 release. No, it's all right. V1. V1s are always rough. V1 a column store was garbage. V1 of availability groups were brutal. So they're all fine stuff, but there'll be some bugs in there. I say this because, like pretty much every V1 thing you hit weirdness with. It's or you hit like there's like some, like even like to this day query store, if you put enough stuff in it, cleanup doesn't run. There's like insane things happen to it and make it becomes unqueryable at times. Poor Joe Obish was talking about having one of the built-in reports run for over 30 minutes. I'm like, yeah, work that out. I blogged about that too. Wow, blogged about everything. SQL Dev DBA says, any recommendations for a team moving from enterprise from standard? Mainly data warehouse. Just looking for recommendations from administration and tuning perspective. Well, I think it's a funny question because there's not a substantial difference between enterprise and standard anymore, and I'm gonna caveat that in a few different ways. But what I'm going to compare it to immediately is Oracle, where with Oracle there are very big differences in administration and tuning things that you have access to between standard and enterprise, different add-ons, different different crates you can open, hopefully like some loot drops when you do something really good. But so that difference exists in that world. But with SQL Server, you have the same tool set regardless of version in standard and enterprise. And then in 2016 to 2016 SP1, for standard edition, all of the well, not all, but a lot of the programmability features became available, though like without like full hardware support. So like you could do Hackathon and dedicate 32 gigs of memory to that. You could do column store and dedicate 32 gigs of memory to that. So there were, but like you didn't get like transparent data encryption, but pretty much everything else you got. From an administrative and tuning perspective, there's not a whole lot of difference between surface area wise between enterprise and standard. So no, but when people tell me they're moving from standard to enterprise, I hope that they are embracing the new infinite hardware that they'll be granted access to. You can have however much, but like within like OS capacity reason, you can have way more memory. You can use more CPUs. You can do all sorts of great stuff. There's cool things in there. There's like merry-go-round scans which aren't available in standard edition. Not that I think those would be used a lot in a data warehouse. It's not like, at least not often, there's not like a lot of super concurrent activity where things might need to share reads, but who knows? You might have a special data warehouse. Who knows? But yeah, not really. It's some of the online capabilities are interesting, but there's like, if you need to like change tables, that might be a little bit easier, but no one's really rebuilding data warehouse indexes. That's insanity. It's like insanity squared. Yeah. It's, so, I mean, in a nutshell, no. No. Let's just leave it at that. Let's see. Mainly getting it because it includes Power BI report server, but will take advantage of other features too. All right. Well, there you go. Good luck with Power BI. I refuse to open that thing. George says, do you have any cookie cutter techniques to increase performance on a system that uses an ORM and no store procedures, also MaxStop 1? So cookie cutter, kind of. It depends on the ORM. So you tell me what the ORM is, and then I might talk more about cookie cutter stuff. Sam says, when is your group buy from yesterday going to be available? I don't know. They haven't told me. I think it was usually within like a week before. I don't know if that's still true. Hopefully it is. I would like if it was within a week, because then I could put up a blog post. I'm like just about a month out on blog posts. Like a month of blog posts in the queue. So it'd be nice to just get one more thing in there. And hibernate. Crap. That's the one. That's the one I don't know a lot about. So as far as I know, in hibernate, as far as I remember, in hibernate, Artie does a pretty decent job with parameterization. Jeez. Is that? I can't remember now. I'm so sad that I can't remember this. So there's some difference in ORMs and in the driver they use and in what they use to send queries to SQL. So like some will use SP execute SQL or SP prep exec, and then others will use like SP prepare. And a while back, I'm going to try see if I can find the blog post that I wrote about it. But I wrote about this a while back, and how SP prepare is weird with performance in a way that SP execute SQL or SP prep exec isn't, and that SP prepare essentially sends you a yeah, bingo. So SP prepare sucks, and that the variables or the parameters for that get the density vector estimate, and you often get very bad cardinality estimate guesses. So check out the blog post link that I stuck in there. There's a little bit more evidence behind that. But SP prepare, yeah, SP prepare can really ruin your day. So I'm not sure if I'm not exactly sure where it is that if you can change how things are called, but that's one thing that I've found can be difficult. So as far as cookie cutter stuff goes, changing the way nhibernate sends queries sometimes helps. Yeah, doesn't it though? Let's see. Josh says, nhibernate has a problem where it uses precise length string variables based on actual parameter value, so you can get lots of duplicate plans in the cache. Yeah, that too. That's a downer. I wouldn't want to do that. I don't even think would force parameterization even help that? I don't know. I don't know when force parameterization would intercept that and make mealyworms out of it. Crazy. The insane things that people do with SQL Server databases, right? Imagine if the nice people in Hibernate read my query or read my blog post about SP prepare and SP prep exec. Imagine the world we live in. George says, one query I found the other day had 50,000 plans. Yeah, that's not unheard of. Next thing I know, you'll be telling me that it calls cursors too. Isn't everything's a cursor anyway? Everything's a cursor anyway. See, SawsDB says, I have 15K instances of order hinting. I bet it's all SP who is active. I bet it's all SP Who is active. That's what I always I find that. Yeah, there are order hints. Have you ever read through SP Who is active ever in your life? There are so many hints and, and oh my god, it's everything. Adam was like off his ass when he wrote that. There are temp tables that he creates one row statistics on. There are all sorts of join hints. There are all sorts of query hints like keep plan and keep fixed plan for like temp tables. It is insane when you read through it. There are even sections of SP Who is active that call cursors that go through and do stuff. It is whatever I don't know what he was on when he wrote that. I think he spent like 100 hours. I forget how many hours. It was either 1,000 hours maybe he said on that. It was just like, wow. There is some incredible stuff in there. But yeah, he goes wild. Goes wild. It's a joy reading through that. One thing that I really like doing with SP Who is active is if you ever want to have a really fun time with it, if you ever want to like see the query that it finally runs, or like look at the execution plan for it, run it in a window and choose show own SPID. I think that's a parameter. If you just choose show own SPID and you turn on query plans, you can see SP Who is active running, and you can see the query that it calls, and you can see the query plan for it. And it's very funny to look through because like especially when you call it with like different parameters and it does different things within that, it is hysterical, the stuff that you see in there. Hysterical. At least it makes me laugh. I get the giggles when I read it. I stopped after the dynamic SQL and went, maybe when I'm better at T-SQL. Well, the thing is that I don't think you can ever get good enough at T-SQL to fully understand everything that Adam does. The section of code where he figures out agent job steps, it's unreal. Unreal. You have to like take like a var binary value and that's in XML and convert it to like 3 different things first and then like parse it out. It's insane what goes on in there. Like, I mean, that's talk about hitting a mark no one else could hit. That's what SP Who is active did, and I can't think of anyone who could hit that mark. Now we've lost Adam to Postgres and Python. Will he ever return? I don't know. I'd be happy if he returned to New York. Could use a dinner date. It's a fun dinner date. I don't know. What are we doing here? It's Friday. Why aren't you people working? Why are you people doing more with your lives? Did I miss anything in here? Not really. Philip Jones says, not having the diagnostics pack sucks. Yes, it does. Yeah. If you work with Oracle, if you work with SQL Server, you have the same DMVs everywhere. Woohoo! George says, I just got home. Well, I hope you had a pleasant train ride, George. I hope you had a license and a permit for that train ride and that you weren't stopped by the constabulary. Ticketed for any offenses. At least, that'd be nice. All right. It is close enough to 12:30. Actually, it is 12:30. Why is this clock lying to me? This clock sucks. All right. So it's been a half hour. I'm going to get going. I have another call soon. And I don't know. I'd like to wander around first before talking to anyone else. But thank you for joining and thank you for all the great questions. And I will hopefully see you next Friday, the same place, same time. And whatever. Oh, Forrest was here and he asked me nothing. Stink, Forrest. Stink.